Hello there, and welcome to this CrazyTalk Animator 2 video tutorial on how to create a talking 2D character, a face character, from a photograph. So the first thing we need to do is to have a body ready. So here's one of the default bodies that come in the Content Manager in CTA2. Or you can choose to import an additional body like one of these Common Folks one. So if you go to the Reallusion Content Store, you'll see that we have some content packs called Common Folks. Okay, these are basically pre-made bodies that have been already created and rigged for you. These are made from real human bodies. So you simply need to drop in your own face photo into these characters. Now here, let me show you some of the packs that we have. We have a captain, handyman, security guard. This is for Common Folks too. But we also have the Volume 1 pack, which has a baby, has a stewardess, and people in bikini. So let me choose my security guard here, because we're going to do it for both my default character and one of these Common Folks characters. Now, one thing to remember is that these Common Folks characters, at least the ones that we had before, Volume 1 and Volume 2, are G1 characters. So they only have one facing angle, one front-facing angle. So they don't have the multiple angles that a G2 character have. So here it's letting me know about this. So I simply choose an OK, and it'll import the body. Now for the G2 characters, you have to remember that because these characters have multiple dimensions, you are able to move your body in multiple dimensions with the 3D motion editor. But this does not mean that the face will move in 3D in different angles. You could, however, do this if you import different angles for all these faces and you drop them into the sprite editor. But obviously this is covered in some other tutorials and not in this one. So great, we have our body here. And the first thing we need to do, the second thing, is to have a subject. So I have a photograph here of Ron Livingston. This is an actor that I like, and I want to use his image. So I have two options. I can either use the original image that we have, like this one, or I can go into Photoshop and remove or crop that background in order to bring that image with an alpha channel, transparency. This is best done as a PNG. So let me do this both ways. We're first going to remove the background inside of CrazyTalk Animator. So let me choose my body here. And again, as I mentioned, there's two ways. If you remove the background, then you can simply select your body and go up here in the main window, in the main stage, go to Create Face. If you want to remove this by using the mask editor to remove the background, then you have to go into the backstage, or what we call the Character Composer. So let me do just that. I'll select my character, go back to Character Composer, and now that we're inside, we simply go up and click on Create Face. It asks me, would you like to save the face file that we have here? And I'm like, no, I don't want to save this face. So I'll select my original image. And now I can start working with my photograph. I can choose if I want to rotate it or correct the color balance and everything else, or simply just crop my image, just like that. I click on Apply and Next. Now by default, CrazyTalk tries to automatically drop in these anchor points, but it's fairly easy. Just do it like this and follow the illustration on the side. Now we're inside the face fitting editor. Now here, what we have to do is basically drop in all these anchor points to make sure just like we have on the illustration on the side. Make sure all these anchor points are right on the edge of my facial parts, my facial features here. It's just like this, my eyes. Right about there, I guess. There is one thing, very important thing that I do have to mention, that when you choose an image, you need to make sure of several things. One, make sure that your image is front facing, looking forward, okay? No angles, no side views or anything. Number two, no expressions. Make sure that mouth is closed, that the character is not smiling or that, there's no other expression, because this will interfere with the animation. And number 3, try not to have accessories on, especially glasses or sunglasses, earrings, stuff on the hair, because remember that these are images, these are photographs, and the way CrazyTalk animates this is by stretching and morphing the pixels. So if your your character has glasses on, it'll stretch and morph those glasses, and they simply won't look natural. What you can do is just take a photograph without those glasses, and later on you can add those glasses as accessories inside of CrazyTalk. So right about there, I'm going to do this fairly quickly, because I'm going to go through the detail points later on. Here the mouth is open, so this is not an issue, because we can later close this mouth with another set of wireframes that we have. Let me bring this down about there. Encompass my jaw. You can use a scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in. Makes it a lot easier and quicker. So again, depending on your image, this will take about 10 to 15 minutes. It also depends on how perfect you want your character to be. Right about there. Okay. People here would naturally just click on next, but I highly recommend that you go into the detail part. This will drop in additional points and wireframes. And these are very important if you want to make your character look just right. Okay. Right on the line. Notice that if I hover my cursor over the blue line, it turns green. If I select it, it's red. When it's red, it means that I can move the entire frame. So be careful with that. Let me put this one here. We're going to add virtual eyes to my character later on. So I want to make sure that this line is right over the edge of my eyes. We also want to make sure that everything that my points are centered. So for example, here we have the pupil, right, the center of the eye. So we want to make sure that this upper point is right over and this lower point is right under, and it's cutting straight through. The same thing for this eyebrow. Make sure that it's cutting right through that. Let's do the same on the other side. Just like that. So we've done several tutorials in the past, and we've covered this extensively. Like that there. And that eyebrow point. I think that looks okay. Now let's do the nose. So again, this photo here has sort of a slight angle towards the left of the character, but that's okay. CrazyTalk can still do a fairly good job with this. Center of the mouth. Center of the mouth, and right on the edges, about there. Okay. Now I mentioned that try not to have an open mouth, because obviously you'll get a better result. But CrazyTalk can still help you. So what I do here is that we can go to the second part where it says open mouth points, and here I'll have a second wireframe for my mouth, and I can just place it right there. Let me bring this over, because I want to get rid of those teeth later on, the real teeth that he has, because we're going to add in some virtual teeth at the end. Okay, and the face, I think it's about right. The last part here is that we have the wireframe encompassing the face, but we have an external wireframe which we call the crown. Now this is for the hair, or if your character has a hat, a big hat, or if you're animating a pet, like, I don't know, a dog or a lion. I don't know who would have a lion. But if you do have a pet lion and you want to animate that, then you want to make sure that the mane is encompassed in that crown area. One more thing here. I want the forehead to animate properly, parts of the hair. Now that we're done, we can go to the calibration panel here and test this out. So I can click on head rotate.
Up, down, left.
Okay, I can go to the eye blink.
Eyes closing and blinking.
Now the eyes look a bit weird there, but that's okay. We're going to fix that later on. And then the mouth.
A, E, I.
Okay. If you would like to correct any of these, you can always go in and play around with these points. So by this point, we're okay. So let's click on Next. And here is the face orientation. This is fairly simple. Just make sure that the vertical line is cutting straight through the face and that the horizontal one is parallel to the eyes. And we also have to make sure that we have the correct face style. So here we're using a human character. So if I use a human face, I can adjust the strength, and then I can choose Preview. And I can see what that looks like. If you had a dog here, then you might want to use the long snout. And you can see that 3D effect come to life there. That doesn't suit this character, so I'll just stick to the human style, adjust the strength again, and test once more, and click on OK. Great. Now what we have to do is drop in virtual eyes and teeth for my guy. So we simply go up to the eye settings, and this will prompt us with the content manager. So inside we have cartoon eyes, we have anime eyes, we have animal eyes, comic eyes, and also human eyes. Some beautiful human templates here. These are actually professionally made eye templates. So let me choose this brown 05. Okay. And I'm going to go up here to the eye settings. Now here we have the ability of customizing the eyeball iris. I can choose the white, the light, the shadow, the eye, the makeup. So by default we see that the eyelashes are on, and I like to leave these on here. And makeup is on too. The makeup is useful because this will allow you to mask over some of those wrinkles in the eye. Let me bring this up. And what I like to do is play with the eyeball whites if I have a natural human character like this, and I can drop that eyeball white. This is because nobody has completely white eyeballs. We always have a tinge of red or yellow inside. So if it's too high, it will not look natural. It will look cartoonish. So I think that looks pretty good. And the other thing that I like to work with is with the eye shadow. This is a nice little trick that will give your character that little lifelike look. I think that looks pretty good. And once you're done, you can choose to click to close eyes, and you can also preview. And if you look closely, you can see some of those veins and capillaries inside those beautifully made eyes. It's pretty cool. And I think we're done. So let's just close the eye setting panel. Now the next part is for us to add the virtual teeth. So just like we did with the eyes, we go up here and choose teeth, then to the content manager, and inside we have to choose some of the teeth templates that we'd like. We got normal teeth there, toddler teeth, teeth with gold with braces, rabbit teeth, vampire teeth, and monster teeth, and a whole bunch of other templates. So let me just use this normal one. Just going to directly drop this inside, and we're going to go through the same process when I click on the teeth settings, the same process of trying to adjust this. So you can feel free to move this about. Let me just try to do this quickly here. I'll bring it down, and then I can rotate a bit, just like that. And you can play around with the brightness of the teeth. You want to increase that or drop that a bit. Also with the throat. Now CrazyTalk by default looks at the color tone of your lips, and it tries to adjust the throat color. But obviously you can play around with this a bit more. And then we have the lips. Remember that we had the two wireframes there. So now we can force close these lips, and that can look a bit more natural. Now remember that when you first choose an image, you want to make sure that you're not smiling, or that you don't have any facial expression, or that your mouth is open. And even if you have a little grin here, you can drop this by lowering the corners for both sides. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I think that can work. Great. So I think we're done with that part there. Let me go back. We were playing with the eyes, right? And now we have to adjust the head shape, the size of my head. So let me bring this down. Okay, so we bring my character up here, and I can choose to rotate him, and you'll see where we have that pivot point for the neck. Okay, so we need to bring this down right about there. Want it to pivot on the neck. That looks good. And then I can choose if I want to increase the size or lower it here. So I think we're good. Now the next step is to remove that mask. To remove that background. And for this, we have to go into the mask editor. So select the face, and we go into mask editor on the left here. And by default, you'll see that CrazyTalk is in automatic mode, and it does a fairly good job at removing that part of that background. But it also detected the hair on my head. So I wish to restore that. So there's two buttons here. We have the foreground brush, and anything that I brush over will make it appear. And then I have the background brush, where everything that I brush over will turn blue and disappear. And I can preview this. I can click on preview, and you can see what's been going on. So that hair is gone. So let me go to foreground brush, and this is a really neat trick. Check this out. I don't have to do everything. I can just stroke over that hair segment, and CrazyTalk will add it automatically. It'll try to detect the boundaries of that hair. The last part here at the bottom is where I want to get rid of that neck. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to choose the background brush tool, which means that everything that I brush over will turn transparent. And CrazyTalk just detected that for me, and I can see that there. Not bad. Now, if I would like to do it manually, I can. I simply go to manual mode. Do you want to edit the mask in manual mode? Yes, please. And then I can start playing with this. Now, inside we have additional tools like the color range. This key tool is basically like the magic wand in Photoshop, where if I select that background, CrazyTalk will try to, select everything that has that same color tone. So here, for example, I can increase the tolerance a bit, and I can start selecting these parts just like that. Okay, not bad. I can do this and then, just color over them. So, obviously, I can go into the brush tool, and I can start manually coloring over those segments that I do not want. Just like that. So depending on how perfect you want this to be, this will take a little while, maybe about 10 minutes or so. And you can use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in. If you would like, you can drop the brush tool and then get into those nooks and crannies right there. Another little trick that we can use is what we call the blur tool. Now the blur tool is very, very useful for when you want to remove some of those jagged edges, those pixelated edges in your character's face. So we simply go to blur here, and I can start blurring out those pixelations. And you'll see the difference now. Just like that. And I can do this all along the edge of the jaw and the face. So I'm doing a fairly quick job, but you get the idea. Just like that. And zoom out. Okay. So let me go out and I'll preview this, see what it looks like. And it's not bad. It's not bad. So again, obviously, I'm doing a fairly quick job. You can go in and play around with this more until you're satisfied with the results. In the end, I click on OK, and we can start adjusting. I think we adjusted the size already, the size and the position of the head. Yeah, we did. So let me go out, And yeah, let me increase the size a bit. I always find it very entertaining to make to increase the size of the head more than the body if you're using a real life photo character. I don't know. I think it looks a bit more comical. But obviously, if you want to do it on a more serious note, you can keep the proportion the same. So when you're done here, I go back to stage, and this will update my character. And there we go. We have our character ready. And we can do the same for my other one. Obviously, for this one, I'll just go in here and I'll choose the PNG image that we already cleared inside of Photoshop. So I'm going to do a very, very quick job here because we did these steps prior. So the anchor points and the orientation. So would I like to replace the head? Yes. Okay. Now the last part here is where we have to adjust the position of the head and the size again. So we know how to do this. Simply select your head, bring it up. Remember those pivot points. I want to bring this down because I want it to rotate with my head down there. And that looks pretty good. Let me zoom out. A bit chubby. And we can update. And now my characters are ready. So in the end, obviously, you can choose to animate your character, and we know how to do this. You simply select your character, go to the left toolbar here, create a script, and I can record something really quick. Hello guys, and this is my Ron Livingston 2D talking character. Hello guys, and this is my Ron Livingston 2D talking character. Not bad. Great, so that's it for this tutorial. We hope you liked it, and we hope you can use those mask editing tools in the future. Thank you.